As a married woman on Reddit, what's the best advice you'd like to share with unmarried girls? Story 1. Love does not equal a relationship. You can love someone but acknowledge that they are not a good relationship partner. It doesn't mean you love them any less. Instead, look for someone that you love, but also shares the things that are important to you in a relationship, and that you can live with mostly drama-free. Marry someone you like as a friend, as well as a lover. Marry someone who makes you laugh. Marry someone who you know will be there for you when needed, and that you can be there for. Marry someone who has a life outside of doing couple things, and don't begrudge them this. Story 2. Marriage is hard work. It's wonderful and rewarding, but it's not about a wedding day. It's about the rest of your life. Choose someone who is going to make your life easier and happier. Never take your partner for granted. Show appreciation for each other. Be grateful. Learn how to argue in a healthy way. Stay polite, even when angry. Being emotional or angry is okay. Being vindictive or mean is not. It's hurtful and damaging. Don't let resentment build up, and don't ever let contempt or bitterness into the marriage. Communication, communication, communication. Talk about everything. Don't hint or expect your partner to know what you're thinking or why you're mad. Talk about your day. Listen to your partners. Let them vent to you or babble excitedly about their newest hobby. Talk about your needs in the bedroom, what food you want to eat, what your shared financial goals are, how you choose to parent, and keep talking. Your needs will grow and change over time, as you will. P.S. Kids won't solve relationship problems. Story 3. Part of what I believe is key to my own marriage is that early on we established how to disagree with each other. It sounds and feels pretty elementary at first, but it really does work. Don't interrupt. Let the other person finish. Don't invalidate what the other person feels. You may disagree about what you meant, but you can't control what the other person feels about it. Focus on the action or behavior, not the person. So for instance, if they leave towels on the floor, they're leaving towels on the floor, and that's the problem. It's not because they are lazy or a bad person. Start sentences with the template. When you blank, it makes me feel blank X. When you leave towels on the floor. It upsets me because it makes me feel like you aren't thinking of the fact that I will trip on them trying to get to the bathroom. It is always the both of you against the problem, not you versus them. If you can sit down with your partner and have the conversation about how you'd like future disagreements to go, however uncomfortably, then you're good. If they aren't even willing to discuss this, reconsider. Story 4. Marry someone because you love who they are now, not for the potential you see in them. Most all the unhappy women I know truly believed their person would change for them. It's very hard to change who you are when you want to, let alone change for someone else for reasons that you may not even be evolved enough to understand. Pay attention to the red flags and understand that unless your partner can switch them up to green on the first or second request, it's only going to get worse. When they show you who they are, believe them. Story 5. Co-parenting is forever. Marriage is not. Who you have children with is a much more serious consideration than marriage or weddings. Keep some of your own finances for yourself. Maintain your independence and ability to provide for yourself into the future. Don't give that up for anyone. I also wish I hadn't spent anywhere near as much on the wedding. Have an amazing holiday instead. Travel the world. Or save it for a home deposit. It seriously just isn't worth it, and just as much joy can be accomplished with far less. Story 6. I read somewhere before to consider how this person acts in difficulties and when things don't go their way, because life is life. And when they suffer, do they suffer well? Are they going BTCH and moan and give up? Or are they going to grin and persevere? Also watch their boundaries. Do they talk to colleagues, lady friends about everything? That boundary issue could turn out to become an affair later. Are they enmeshed with their mums? If they are, you have to be accepting that she will be the third party in your relationship. It's hard to tell them to impose boundaries when they don't see a need to. You become the controlling one if you insist. So it's better to find someone with already good boundaries. Story 7. I say that to all my single girlfriends. Never settle. The guy you marry is going to be in your life for life. Think about that. Also, never walk into a relationship thinking you can change a guy's flaw. I know you want to be the reason he's better. It's tempting. But no. If you can't accept him for who he is now, don't. I once dated a guy who told me up front to not persuade him to quit smoking because if Has not even gonna do it for him, Mum, he won't do it for a random girl. Story 8. Communicate. Don't assume. If you would like your partner to do something, if their actions make you feel a certain way, say that directly. Don't drop hints and assume they will pick up on them. Interpret them the same way you would. If your expectations for a conversation are to just vent, say that. Your partner may view it as a problem-solving conversation. If you are in a serious relationship and have timelines for moving in, marriage, kids, let your partner know. If you have expectations towards finances, work, retirement, 5-year plans, let them know. These types of conversations are ongoing because our lives are dynamic. What was true 2 years ago may not be now. And sometimes those changing answers mean you are no longer compatible. Know yourself. If you get frustrated in certain situations and tend to let it sour your entire mood, it is helpful to tell your partner you aren't upset with them. It is some third thing that's making you upset. You're allowed to be upset, but it's not fair to take it out on others. I think some people view it as romantic and a sign that their partner really knows them if they can guess what the other person wants, needs without being explicitly told. This may work for small things like gifts, making dinner, etc. But big stuff should be directly discussed. Story 9. You need to like your spouse as much as you love them. There will come a time when the sex slows down, the attention wanes, neither of you look your best. You aren't always planning fun things. You might have a serious illness, finances might shift, and you have to face hard issues. If your relationship is primarily about your hormones and heart flutters, it won't weather these storms. If instead it's built on friendship, kindness, and respect, you will come out the other side even more deeply in love and committed to each other. Story 10. Don't legally bind yourself to someone unless they prove that they see you as an equal. Would they subordinate their career for yours, or do they just expect you to subordinate yours? Would they take your surname, or do they just expect you to take theirs? Would they pick up the slack and take care of you if you were sick, or would they just expect you to do it? Listen to actions, not words. Too many men pay lip service to equality while dating, but revert to patriarchal type once you're secured. Your desires, values, careers, and happiness are valid and important. A good partnership is one where you can trust the other person to put your needs before their wants. Straight person here. So speaking from that morbid, but before you get married, imagine you get in an accident, and a consequence of that accident is that you have to relearn to walk. How does your spouse fit into that equation? Are you bedridden watching wet towels pile up on the floor of the bathroom? Is he able to go shop for all the meals you both love without sending you a text about which olives to buy? Can he pay the water, gas, and electricity without interrupting your intense grief? Is he selfless enough to carry you to the car for the 7 months for physical therapy? Imagine you have 2 amazing kids, and then you die when they are 12 and 9. Is this the man you want them to navigate adolescence, grief, and life with? Would he know where to drop them off at school? Would he know the email of their teachers? Would he know what menstrual pads to buy your daughter and the special pharmacy where you get your son's inhaler? Apply this logic to having a miscarriage, losing a parent, being broke, having a mental health episode, being sued, owning a failing a business, losing a job, getting cancer, etc. Those things or their equivalent will happen to you during this marriage. Think about those tiny moments that you tolerate right now and what they will look like in a time of real strife. Imagine in 14 years that you're at Thanksgiving and one of your in-laws makes a comment about how your daughter is really filling out or your son might have sugar in his tank. How does the man of your dreams and father of your children react? Really imagine your marriage beyond, wow, we have fun, or, but I love him so I can excuse he doesn't know how to grocery shop. Don't marry for now, marry for those scenarios. Because that's the way to live a fulfilled life. Just because your man is cute with his nephews at the holidays, tells you he would love you if you were a worm, or buys you amazing birthday gifts doesn't mean crap. The reality is that most men won't parent, be there for you when you just need him to buy the groceries for 3 weeks, or even stay with you if you gain 30 lbs. Story 12. Less positive but practical advice from a woman who divorced an emotionally abusive man 2 years ago. There were some subtle and some overt red flags I couldn't recognize and didn't want to see. Here are: if you never disagree on anything, and you both have the exact same interests and values, someone is lying. This is a red flag. Someone is mirroring you, and you will enjoy it if you don't know what to look for, because you're basically falling in love with yourself. The other person will eventually end up resenting you and your interests, and you will have no idea what happened. If you can't bring something up that your partner did that you found hurtful without them bringing something up you did that they found hurtful, this is a big bright red flag. It's extra bad when they're keeping a tally of every argument you've ever had, digging way in the past, and bringing up something they never told you they were upset about. You're mad about that? What about the time you did that to me 3 years ago? Why have I forgiven you, but you won't forgive me? Make sure actions always line up with words. If he tells you that he prioritizes you and you're his best friend, but you somehow end up planning all of your dates, initiating the hard conversations, and taking over chores, appointments, budgeting, etc., you're not his priority or his friend. If he talks you up to his friends and family but still treats you like crap behind closed doors, believe him when he treats you like crap, instead of when he tells friends how amazing you are. This was the hardest one to wrap my head around. This is his obsession with his image, and will be used against you when his friends and family tell you how lucky you are and how much he loves you. Story 13. Never ignore red flags. Nip everything in the bud. Some men are good, some are awful. A surprisingly high number can go either way depending on their surroundings. People tend to do what they can get away with, and it is incredibly important to make things fair from the get-go. You see this commonly with men who were awful partners with their exes, but end up being great husbands to a later one. Usually it's because the new partner is more confident and has strong boundaries. Labor should be calculated based on hours and not money. Take time to do something together even in the busiest of days. Never use superlatives like never or always. When you are upset, communication should be centered on how his actions affect your, rather than ascribing motives to his actions. Communicate the positives, not just the negatives and problems. I noticed that a lot of people only communicate when there is a problem. This will make your partner reflexively pull away when you want to communicate. Don't lose yourself and make them literally your everything. Codependency isn't healthy. You should still have hobbies and interests outside of your partner. Know when to let go. Concessions should be made on both sides in most disputes. A marriage shouldn't be carried on the back of a single person. Be respectful. I see so many couples being scornful of each other during arguments. Those wounds fester long after they've ostensibly made up and tend to be brought up often in later arguments because that crap, it cuts deep. Similarly, respect yourself and do not allow your partner to disrespect you. Get on the same page about the important stuff like long-term goals, kids, political beliefs, etc., and circle back every so often. Don't be afraid to discuss difficult topics. Story 14. Consider carefully who you marry, as it is one of, if not the, most important and far-reaching decisions in your life. Marry someone who is your partner, who will share the burden with you equally. Watch a few of those ridiculous women's mental load videos on TikTok if you want to see what kind of partner to avoid. You want a husband, not another child. And, conversely, remember your husband married you. He didn't hire you. Set boundaries early and often. If needed, hopefully not. Have the wedding you can afford. Being in consumer debt is no place to start a marriage. My wedding was 20 years ago now, and honestly, I barely remember it at this point. The little touches and details will only be memorable to you. People go to weddings to eat, drink, and celebrate the couple. Don't spend an exorbitant sum on a wedding dress you'll be wearing for maybe 12 hours. The most gorgeous bride I've ever seen had a 99 dress from David's Bridal that she had tailored to fit her like a glove. Gorgeous. Story 15. It's easier to end a dating relationship or even an engagement than a marriage. Do not stay with someone just because we've been together for so long. If the relationship is a struggle when you're dating, the solution is not to keep moving towards marriage. I have been a bridesmaid at a wedding where, I kid you not, on the wedding morning she was finally realizing this was probably a bad idea. All of us bridesmaids told her it's not too late. Will it ruin the event for all the gathered guests? Sure, but it won't ruin their lives. However, marrying this man if it's a bad marriage might ruin yours. We tried to tell her we could help her sneak out and get away without facing anyone. We could break the news to the guests and take the brunt of the anger for her. But she backed down and went through with it. It was a bad marriage. They divorced within a year or two. She had such a hard life before the marriage. I really wanted better for her. Anyway, don't stay with a boyfriend when the people who know you best and love you most see red flags that you don't want to admit. Don't tie yourself down to someone who makes you a smaller person. Real love gives you wings to expand and grow. You do this for each other. You delight in watching each other grow. False love asks you to squeeze down into a tiny box and get smaller for the convenience of your partner.